Is this episode really a special? Hello everyone, I'm Dustin Benzel, and welcome to another Pokemon XY anime discussion. Today we're going to talk about the Pikachu cosplay episode, and mostly we're going to discuss why I really am a little concerned as to why everyone and their dog is labeling it as a special. At least some of the fandom is labeling it as special. A lot of people out there are realizing that this is just a simple other episode of XY, and why it's labeled a special is beyond them. It's beyond me. But anyway, just a quick synopsis before we talk about whether or not it's actually a special or not. Let's jump into the particular episode. So basically, the episode is relating to movie making. It revolves around Pikachu heavily. It involves some guy, I think his name is Frank or something like that, or Mary. Or is that his assistant? I'm not really sure here. Let me look this up real quick. Is this particular? Okay. Frank and Jean. Okay, that Frank is the guy, Jean is his assistant. Okay, so basically, Ash, Serena, Claude, and Bonnie are just walking by, and then they look over, and they see this amazing thing. They look closer, there's a whole bunch of Pikachu. So Ash's Pikachu gets really excited, Bonnie gets excited too, Pikachu goes in and introduces itself and wanders around. Frank, the movie director guy, comes and he's all excited or whatever. Ash, Serena, Clement, and Bonnie are apparently interrupting a movie moment or a movie-making moment because I believe Frank yells out, "Cut!" And that's basically a movie thing, a director thing. So then they're introduced. Then Frank hugs and creeps out Pikachu the usual way that Pikachu is creeped out, and then Pikachu ends up shocking Frank, who actually enjoys it. And I think the other Pikachu are kind of having smiles, and I think it was mentioned that they're happy that Frank is being thing. So anyway, basically what we get is we get this movie director who's obsessed with Pikachu. No, he really is obsessed with Pikachu. I'm not joking. He is super obsessed with Pikachu. He's apparently what the Japanese executive producers think. Everyone is apparently obsessed with Pikachu. Now, don't get me wrong. I like Pikachu as a species, as a Pokemon species. It's one of my favorite electric Pokemons within the first generation. I actually like Pikachu. It's kind of cute. Raichu is okay, decent. Pikachu I probably like a little bit more. Sometimes I like Ash's Pikachu, but the one thing that I do not like is, in regards to Ash's Pikachu, is when it gets so much focus that it screws the other Pokemon over completely. Now, I think I've addressed this before. Now, as for this particular episode, I have no problem with it whatsoever. Great episode. Great all around, some funny moments everywhere. The only problem is, this is directly relating into the next week's episode, which happens to be the Pokeball Factory, which I neglected to mention, but I'll mention it at the end of this particular video. I think I was thinking of trying to mention that in the Noibat Sky Relay, but it wouldn't have made any sense. So, anyway, let's continue forward. Frank needs some help with Clement to make the script. Ash's Pikachu is going to be the Super Pikachu that we see. So they're making the episodes. There's a funny moment with Halucha being the stunt double for Ash's Pikachu in the winged costume. It's funny. It's funny to see a semi-tall Pikachu going Halucha underneath the clothing when Ash is like, "Halucha, are you okay?" So then they're making the video, then they're editing it, and then one of the third segment of the episode, they actually watch the episode. Apparently Serena's Breakson does show up in this episode, but it's kind of awkward to say that because, granted, it would have made no sense for them to even use Breakson. You know, it could have been like Delphox or Fennekin or even some other fire Pokemon. Let's see, what is there another Litleo or Pyroar. They didn't need to use Braixen if it wasn't Serena's Braixen. The only issue that I have is when they're watching the movie, Braixen is like as far away from Serena as possible. I would have thought that Braixen would be sitting next to her trainer. So that is a little iffy, but I'm pretty sure it's Braixen because who else would have the Braixen? It's kind of like Lucas from Best Wishes having a Leavanny. I mean, it was fine in the beginning because Swadloon hadn't evolved, but in that Crocodile debut episode where Luke is making an episode with Golett and Golurk, the problem that we have is there's actually Leavanny within the episode. Granted, based on the other Pokemon that show up, it's likely Luke's Leavanny, but at the same time, it could have easily been Ash's Leavanny. But I suppose since it was Luke and Luke was in there, I guess it would be Luke's Leavanny. So that's the problem that I have, because Luke actually had a Leavanny and Ash had one at the same time, and we weren't sure whose Leavanny it was. We assume it was Lucas because Ash had Bulldor, the 3 starters, and Pikachu, and I think one other Pokemon. And wait, hold on, Pikachu, 3 starters, Bulldor. And he had some other Pokemon, and it would have made no sense for it to be also Ash's Leavanny as well. At least I'm thinking. But anyway, blah, 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 that's Best Wishes. So we don't actually know if the Braixen within this episode is actually Serena's. We assume that it's Serena's Braixen because she has the Braixen, and it would make no sense just to throw a random Braixen, but I don't know if Braixen said anything and it was Braixen's voice actress or whatever. So basically that's it. So they watched the movie. The movie was pretty much fun. There's some tidbits that I almost forgot. Aiku Otani actually shows within the episode, at least in anime form. We don't actually hear her say anything, basically. So we see an image of Aiku Otani. I will be showing that there. So then we get the movie, and the cool thing about the movie that we see is that they're actually human voice actors for these Pikachu. I think Serena and Bonnie voiced the 2 female, well, okay, that's not entirely true, because I think the Rockstar Pikachu was female, or the PhD Pikachu was female. No, I think it was the PhD Pikachu. But the Madame Pikachu and the other female Pikachu, what are the cosplay Pikachus called? Again, hold on, let me look this up. Cosplay Pikachu. Okay, no, those images are not what I meant by cosplay Pikachu. Not sexy girls dressed up as Pikachu, okay? That's not what I meant by cosplay Pikachu. Okay, so it's Belle Pikachu and Popstar Pikachu that so happens to be female, and I think those were voiced by Serena and Bonnie, or their voice actor. Well, actually, within the anime episode, it was Serena and Bonnie. They did some voiceovers. Ash apparently did a voiceover, but I can't tell what he did. I don't think it was Pikachu, the PhD, which was female, I believe, within the actual anime, if I'm not, yeah. Which is surprisingly, because the Rockstar Pikachu, as well as the wrestler, or Pikachu Libre, were male Pikachu, but all the other 3 Pikachu were female. So basically, the plot of the movie is Ash's Pikachu as Super Pikachu trying to save them from Pikachu Libre. So then he kidnaps, or the Pikachu Libre kidnaps Popstar Pikachu and the Belle Pikachu, and then Pikachu Rockstar, along with Pikachu PhD, is trying to get the other Pikachu to defend themselves against Pikachu Libre. Rockstar Pikachu is, I think, voiced by Kojiro's, or James's Japanese voice actor, I don't know his name, I can't remember, Kirumiru Furishinima. Sorry if I butchered that name, hold on. I completely butchered that name completely. Shinjiro Miki, or whatever, I believe is his name. I don't know what Serena and Bonnie voiced, but I know they voiced the two females. I don't know who voiced PhD Pikachu. I think it was possibly Jean's voice actress, I believe. Whoever voiced Jean within the episode, the assistant of Frank. Pikachu Libre was voiced by the narrator, who also voices some other characters like Ash's Bulldor. I believe he voiced Ash's Swallow in the Japanese. I cannot remember his name. It's like Unsho Ijizuka or whatever, I believe. Unsho is Shizuka. There we go. I believe voiced the Libre Pikachu. Like I said, I don't know. And then Aiku Otani, of course, voiced over Ash's Pikachu. I thought they were going to do Ash. I thought Ash was going to voice over his own Pikachu because that would have made a lot of sense within the actual anime universe. Hello? I mean, Ash not voicing his own Pikachu? But, you know, it was perfect. We got Aiku Otani. I'm not really sure if I'm okay with Aiku Otani actually speaking in regards to Pikachu, actually English language. Aiku Otani is okay for like Scotty and just the Pikachu noises, Pikachu, but the only problem that I have is that Ash's Pikachu, if it were to actually speak, would sound very weird. By the way, because Aiku Otani does voice Ash's Pikachu in terms of the dub over within the actual movie, it sounds a lot like Scotty, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know if I kind of like that voice for Ash's Pikachu if it were to actually talk and or to actually speak. So anyway, everyone groups over and saves the day. Everyone is happy with the movie. One thing that I neglected to mention before is that all the Pikachu, when it was their time, they shocked Pikachu, or they shocked Ash, which was hilarious because there was a moment where all the Pikachu needed to use their electricity to, I guess, for a scene within the movie. And Ash got shocked in the process, which was funny. So the episode ended with everyone being happy. Then there was a final segment which had to do with behind the scenes of Serena. By the way, I neglected to mention that Frank had some sad backstory where he loved Pikachu. Pikachu was there. He married a woman, I believe, who also had a Pikachu. But then the next scene after that marriage scene is apparently Frank's wife died, which kind of awful, but I guess it happens sometimes or frequently within real lives, so I guess it makes sense to throw that in, I guess. I don't know who Jean is. I don't think it's the daughter or granddaughter of Frank. Jean is apparently just some assistant, but just to make sure that Jean is not related to Frank, or Jean didn't have any children. It's not going to say. The Frank article is a little blank, and it doesn't even have anything else. So I think Jean is just some random character that happens to be an assistant to Frank. But, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if they were actually related. But anyway, so I think that's pretty much it. The final segment also had some bloopers. Also, there was a parody of the MGM logo with Pikachu. There were some bloopers which were kind of funny. We have Serena and Bonnie messing up their lines within the when they were dubbing over. So yeah, then Ash put the costume on Halucha backwards, and Halucha. I think we actually see the feathers of Halucha, and he's like, and then you hear Lucha Blue because he's like really upset or whatever. So then also There's also the first appearance of Weezing apparently in the anime since James has released him. So apparently, when James released his in that particular third generation episode, A Poached Ego, which was the 6th episode which happened in 2002, December 20th, the day after Christmas was when James released his Weezing, and we haven't seen a Weezing for over more than a decade, actually. Holy crap, about 13 years we haven't seen, well, 12 years we haven't seen, almost 13. If it was December 26th, it would be 13 years, but so about 12 years we haven't seen Weezing within the anime, which is surprising. So I believe that's pretty much it for that particular special. I don't think there's anything I missed outside of mentioning that Frank is super obsessed with Pikachu. He has a Pikachu throne, he has Pikachu teacups, he has Pikachu statues, he has Pikachu pillows. Anyway, so let's go into the actual purpose for this particular video. Is this particular episode a special, or is it a regular episode of XY? Now, based on what happened within the episode, I have no idea why this is labeled as a special. I am absolutely confused as to why anyone would think this is a special. So yeah, I'm a little confused as to why it's labeled a special. See, for me, there needs to be two particular things that fit a criteria for it to be considered a special. One, there has to be little human characters within the actual episode. Basically, the Pikachu shorts that we've got in the past that have been specials and not actual episodes, they have very little human interaction within it. Ash, when we talk about the first Pikachu short, Brock, Misty, and Ash were there, but we didn't see their faces. They didn't show up. They only showed up in the very beginning and the very end. They did not show up within the other throughout the whole entire episode, and we definitely did not see their face, especially when you considered the second Pikachu special, along with those Pichu brothers, where I believe it was Ash trying to celebrate their first year together, and everyone's all like, first year together? Oh no, Ash has to be 11. Why is he still 10 in Best Wishes? Why is Ash never gonna age? You know, that particular Pikachu short. So those are considered specials if they revolve around the main character's Pokemon, but they have little human characters within it. The second criteria for it to be a special is that the human characters within the episode, if they're focused, cannot revolve around the current main series characters. Which is why if we had a special with Misty making out with Tracy, hypothetically speaking, that would be a special. That would be an extremely special, but it would still be a special because Misty nor Tracer, Misty nor Tracer, come on, we all know that's his name, because we know he traces his drawings. He doesn't do the real work, he traces other people's work. No, Misty and Tracy are not part of the main cast of XY. So, of course, anything that revolves around them, it would be considered a special. Sorry I mentioned them making out, but apparently there's something going on between them. Because Tracy was with Misty within the end of the Best Wishes episode. Ash was like, hey, Professor Oak, where's Tracy? Oh, he's with Misty. You know, Misty. So Tracy and Misty seem to be having some sort of secret hidden relationship of some kind, I'm guessing. If we had a special about Brock, Dawn, May, some random characters that, like the Raikou special with Jimmy, I believe, and Vincent, and Marina, and the female man character that the dub got all confused over, that the Japanese creators of that special are confused. You know, the Galoshes guy from the Thunder Raikou Feraligatr, you know, that special, you know. Human characters that actually fit within the actual main series but have none of the XY anime characters except in limited sense is what I would consider a special. So the Mega Evolution Act 4, if we assume that my speculation is correct, and Marin sees Ash, Serena, Kallant, and Bonnie walking through the woods and recognizes Ash at the end of Act 4, and it connects to the following XY anime episode, which introduced Alon and Marin within the actual main series. That would still be considered a special. Now, that is my criteria for a special. Either there has to be little human characters within the actual episode or 20-minute thing, and it can't deal with any of the main characters, and it cannot follow the same XY anime, and it can't air on TV Tokyo as well. I believe there was some other specials that happened within like Best Wishes and maybe even 4th Gen that revolved around a planetarium. I think there was Professor Oak, and it was only like a 5-minute special that you saw at the planetarium in Japan, I'm guessing, or whatever, and it involved Ash, Dawn, or Iris, and Professor Oak. I'm not really sure. It's hard to remember that far back. But that would be a special because it was in a random planetarium episode. It did not show up on TV Tokyo. So, first off, okay, so there are 3 criteria. First, it can't air on TV Tokyo, and if it does air on TV Tokyo, it can't fit the other 2 criteria for it to be a special. Lack of human characters within the actual episode. Then, third, if there are human characters, it cannot have the main cast within the episode. And this particular episode had a beginning, it had a middle, and it basically had an end. The only reason why this is considered a special, and which is really annoying me, is because the director of this particular episode decided to stylize it into a segmented episode. That's the only reason why this is special, because there are apparently 4 titles in regards to this episode, rather than just labeling it as segments. Because the thing is, those segments cannot be watched by themselves. Well, true, the final segment could probably be watched whenever you want, but it is relating to the first 3 segments. It takes place during the second segment, because that's when most of the bulk of the recording of the episodes was done. But basically, the first segment introduced Frank, Ash, Serena, had an introduction. The second segment basically made the movie. They were working on the movie. It followed a singular continuity plot. And then the final segment was watching the movie and ending the episode, I think, for the most part, with Frank being hugged by all the cosplay Pikachu. So I don't understand why this is considered a special. Because if you take out those particular segments and the first segment is actually the title of the episode, I guarantee you this would not have been any different than any other Pokemon XY episode. And the only reason why this is considered a special is because the director of this episode decided to stylize it differently by making the episode split into different segments. Really? Really? The whole entire point of this particular episode was about movie creation. We've already had these particular episodes before. We had the camera up, lights, camera up in the 3rd generation, where the manga version of Pokemon Red, the funky version that introduced that unidentifiable weak bug Pokemon that only existed in the manga existed, where Red had a Pikachu and a Clefairy. We had that particular episode. Then, even in 5th Gen, we had Lucas, or Luke. I cannot quite remember his name. I think it's Luke. I think Lucas is somebody else, but I think it was Luke, with the Golett, the Leavanny, the Zorua. We even saw a movie being created there. But for this particular episode, because the director of the episode wanted to do something a little bit different and have the episode be cut into different segments, suddenly it's a special. I don't know what the Japanese think of this, but There's one fan site, which is Cerebi, and one translator that translated the Japanese titles called Defender, who all think this is just another episode of XY anime. I don't know why Bulbapedia has decided to label this as a special and anything else. I think even Phil.de considers this as a special rather than an episode of XY. And I'm really confused. I don't know what other people's criteria for what a special is, but if the episode does not take place in XY, or the TV Tokyo does not air the episode, it is a special. If it takes place in the planetaria or the theaters, it is a special, even if it revolves around Ash, Serena, Clement, and Bonnie. Secondly, there needs to be a lack of human characters within the actual episode completely. It can't just be throughout the whole entire episode. There needs to be a lack of human characters, like the Pikachu shorts. Those would be considered specials. Third, if there are human characters, it cannot involve the main cast that is currently airing. The Brock special, the Dawn special, those were specials because Ash wasn't in it, Serena and Clement were not in it. I'm not entirely sure when those episodes actually aired. Well, not Brock and Dawn. Those happened in the middle of 5th Gen. I meant the Iris and Silent episodes. I don't know when those aired, but those are definitely specials because they were disconnected from each other. They had nothing to do with Ash's journey and nothing. This particular episode, not only we have the three main characters, we have the four main characters, including Ash's Pikachu. We have Ash, Serena, Clement, and Bonnie. Not only that, we have Frank and Jean. We also have it. We have a story. We have Ash meeting Frank. He's obsessed with Pikachu. He lost his wife. Jean is there. We even had a separate... When Clement, Bonnie, and Frank were talking about the movie, we actually got a scene with Ash, Serena, Jean, and Ash's Pikachu talking about Frank's obsession with Pikachu, I'm assuming, because I'm pretty sure that would have been something somebody probably would have mentioned. So, about all that, Pikachu, what's up with all that? You know, we even had a moment where Serena asking Frank and everything about this. This does not, in my opinion, fit any sort of criteria for it to be a special, and the only reason why it's considered a special is solely because the director decided to cut this particular episode into different segments. Because this particular episode has 4 titles, it somehow is a special, even though these particular parts cannot be watched separately without being confused. I mean, I'm sure you might be able to get the gist of it. The third segment, apparently Ash, Serena, and Clement are watching a movie. Second segment, apparently Ash, Serena, Clement, and Bonnie are making a movie. First segment, okay, Ash, Serena, Clement, and Bonnie apparently meet a guy who's obsessed with making movies, has Pikachu cosplay, and is obsessed with Pikachu, and has an assistant named Jean. But the thing is, these particular segments, they interconnect with each other. Even the final segment, which is out of place with the rest of the episode, even that particular has a part within the episode that you can't just watch it by itself. It would just be confusing to watch that final segment and be like, wait, what's going on? Because it's relating to the scenes that happen in the first 3 not the first 3. Sorry, the second segment. I keep forgetting that the final segment is mostly dealing with the making of the movie. So, we also get Clement being embarrassed by the camera because he's afraid of cameras, apparently. He's afraid of being someone who's noticed by the camera or whatever. But anyway, I am still utterly confused why this is considered a special. It does not fit the usual criteria of it being a special. Just because it was segmented into 4 different parts does not mean that it is a special. Because it's clearly obvious that the director wanted to stylize this episode a little bit different. He wanted it to be about making a movie, and he wanted to segment the thing. He wanted to separate the episode in acts. If you know anything about plays and recitals or whatever those things are, at least probably wrong there, but like let's take a Shakespeare play or whatever. That is cut in different acts. Act 1 introduces the characters, I guess, or whatever. Then maybe Act 2 might deal with the particular drama going on within the actual play, and then the final act possibly will resolve the drama or whatever that case may be. That's what this particular thing. The different segments are basically Act 1, Chapter 1, meeting Frank and Jean. Chapter 2, Act 2, making the movie. Act 3, Chapter 3, the movie is complete. Chapter 4, Act 4, behind the scenes. You know, that's basically all it is. It's basically probably no different than your basically movie that you get on DVD, or even a TV series that you get on a DVD. Basically, it's kind of just segmented like a movie. If you know anything about DVDs and movies, you'll know that everything is separated by different titles. If you open your DVD case for a particular movie that might be famous, and you look inside, you will see that the movie is basically cut up in different parts. Like, let's use, I don't know if this is an example, but let's use the first Pikachu, or the first Pokemon movie as an example. The first segment would be, Mewtwo escaping. Then the next segment, the next title would be Ash battling Donphan. A third chapter, something going on in the middle of the water. Fourth segment, Ash makes a Viking reference. Next segment, Ash's Pokemon are stolen. You know, basically that's what it is. The movie is segmented into different titles within the DVD, because that's where you can cut to, and I feel like this is what it basically is. What it's basic. If this was actually an actual movie, this is what it would be based off. Okay, we got the first title, the first chapter. Okay, it's about meeting Frank. The second chapter, the second title is within the middle of the episode where they make the movie. Okay, we're gonna cut there. I've already seen the first segment. I had to do some other things, so let's go back to the second segment. Okay, watch the second segment. Somehow my house caught on fire. We have to deal with that. Okay, where was I? Oh, I was at the third segment. Okay, and that's watching the movie. So personally, I don't see why this is considered a special. I honestly will go with Sarah B for the most part on this, and think it just is an episode that happened after the Noibat Sky Relay episode. First episode was Noibat Sky Relay. Second episode was that. So basically, the Pikachu cosplay episode, I'm labeling it as XY78, if I'm not mistaken. So the Pokeball Factory is 79. Breaksin and Pancham Captivating is 80. The Rotom episode is 81. The Pumpkaboo evolving into Gorgeist episode is 82. And the Mamoswine versus whatever is 83. So, anyway, before I end this episode, as I mentioned in the beginning, or somewhere in the middle of this episode, I mentioned the next episode, which is the Pokeball Factory. One thing that I will mention, and it's confirmed, that Meowth does happen to have Ash's Pikachu's Pokeball, and is actually trying to recall it. So, hopefully, the funniest moment within the whole entire episode will be Pikachu actually being recalled, and I really hope it happens. Granted, it's probably not going to happen, because Pikachu has to do everything by itself, because the group's Pokemon is all captured. Surprisingly, the only thing we don't see is we don't really see Ash, Serena, Clement, and Bonnie, and Jesse and James within this episode. I don't think I remember seeing them quite in the preview. I think all we saw was Meowth and Pikachu and whatever, but we all know that they're going to show up, so it's not a special, everyone. The Pokeball Factory might revolve around just Pikachu and Meow, but it's not a special, you know. So anyway, I think that's it. the only thing that actually Ash and Serena, Colette and Bonnie were because they were doing the tour with the Pokeball factory. So, so there's really nothing to say other than it's interesting that we see all these Pokeballs. Interesting that Pikachu and Meowth are trying to get turned into Pokeball. There's a sphere of them. So that scene that I showed you with that claw machine reference that I made in that other video, it seems that actually is Ash's Pikachu. So I think this pretty much covers that. I don't think there's anything else. If we get a second preview later today, I might make another Pokeball Factory episode, but probably not. I don't know when my next video is going to be. Probably when we get new information. I'm probably not going to discuss the Pokeball Factory episode unless Pikachu gets returned to its Pokeball. It'll probably be a short video. Oh no! Pikachu finally got recalled to its Pokeball! Yippee-yi-yay! You know, so anyway, thank you for watching. I'm Dustin Benzel, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!